In a historic evening, the House has voted to pass H.R. 5371, ending the longest government shutdown in recent memory, actually in the entirety of United States history, and the longest since that of 2018 to 2019. Bill now heads to President Trump to sign, and he will reopen the government at 9:45 tonight after that dinner with Wall Street executives. We're right here for you on the right side of history. Welcome to RSBN Prime Time. Good to be back with you again. I'm Robert McNeely, as we are covering everything inside of the Beltway for you. In addition to this very good and breaking news for countless Americans who will receive that back pay, President Trump has also pledged to give bonuses to TSA and other government employees that did stick it out and went to work without having been absent. So that will be very nice to see that happening, in addition to a situation where he was frustrated, where TSA agents were leaving the job or calling in sick as a result of missing those checks, several in some cases, and the frustration was felt large and wide. Harkens back to a bit during President Reagan and the air traffic controllers, where he actually fired countless numbers of them as a result of that strike. So a little bit different versus the government shutdown to the strike of in the 1980s. But regardless, President Trump to reopen the federal government at 9:45 tonight. So stick with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we dive into today's news. The longest shutdown in government history, in United States history, at day 43 coming to an end. It's a vote of 222 to 209. 6 Democrats joining across the aisle with Republicans, and 2 Republicans joining the Democrats. So officially bipartisan, if you will, on both yays and nays, as we look forward to seeing what will be discussed. Now, this covers the opening of the government through January of 2026. So we could see something like this definitely happen again, but we have the replay of that vote and also a press gaggle right after that with House Speaker Mike Johnson reiterating from Statutory Hall how this was Senator Chuck Schumer's shutdown, not that of the Republicans, but truly in his hands, because he's afraid of a primary challenge from AOC in 2028, something that seems very likely because the progressives feel, and the far left in the Democrat Party, who are now the base of this ridiculous entity that seeks to serve itself and not the American people, they are afraid. And Senator Chuck Schumer clearly afraid of his base and being primaried against, but maybe it's not the worst thing in the world since he's been in Congress since 1981. In other news, there is scandal in Gavin Newsom's office as he went down to Brazil for a UN climate conference to proclaim that there's only so many years and days of Donald Trump. The globalist is making his agenda clear, as is Mayor Brandon Johnson, calling on the United Nations to come in and observe ICE and to review what's happening in Chicago. But we know by the numbers that violent homicides, shootings, carjackings, all down because of President Trump and because of ICE, even though Johnson and Governor Pritzker continue their anti-police rhetoric, which is now becoming very dangerous as we watch all of that. But Governor Newsom's former chief of staff indicted in a corruption scandal, accused of funneling hundreds of thousands from a dormant campaign account. So we will watch all of that as the mayor-elect Mamdani of New York City attempting to scream literally at Tom Homan as he's doing a whirlwind tour since his election last week to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and then also to Washington, D.C. So a rather bizarre way to handle yourself as the next mayor of the Big Apple. Now, Apple, speaking of apples, the digital IDs, travelers now have the ability to store digital U.S. IDs on your iPhone and your Apple Watch for secure domestic airport use. And as I mentioned earlier, Governor Gavin Newsom of the Golden State of California took aim at President Trump's energy agenda at the COP, the COP30 summit. It's a climate conference in Brazil this past week. Now, how will this government shutdown of 43 days really go into an effect January of 2026 and ultimately the midterms? Well, I have some thoughts on that, specifically given my background in politics. Republicans should go out there, especially in these Democrat districts, and talk about affordability, talk about insurance, talk about, as House Speaker Mike Johnson, you'll see in a moment from the press gaggle, which happened moments ago in Statutory Hall, where the old House of Representatives used to meet, perhaps the most beautiful part of the United States Capitol building, that healthcare was destroyed by Democrats dating back to Obamacare and the socialist takeover of something that's so expensive, something that's debated here in America, but something that cannot be ignored, as many of our rights are being stomped on and trampled on a daily basis. It's amazing 250 years later how we are fighting for some of those very same principles and those founding Bill of Rights that our forefathers did so long ago. But we have that playback ready for you, in addition to that gaggle, but also the actual vote that took place roughly close to 1 hour ago. And we will take you live to the Oval Office, where President Trump is expected to reopen the government at 9:45 after concluding what turned out to be a closed press dinner with Wall Street executives. And much discussion right now with the communist election of Mr. Mamdani in New York City. Will the financial capital seek to be in the Big Apple? Many economists saying that it's very possible we could see Wall Street move to Dallas, Texas, or even perhaps the free sunshine state of Florida. It's a wonderful time of year, as it is all around this part of the country in the southeast, east of the Mississippi. It's where you want to be, down in SEC territory. That is the Southeastern Conference, where it means more, as we are here home in Auburn, Alabama, not only to the Tigers, but also to your favorite live desk, Right Side Broadcasting Network, in the prime time. Let's take it to that replay of the vote, 222 to 209, H.R. 5371 passing and going to President Trump's desk.
On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
And you heard that there from the Speaker pro tempore, that 222, with 6 Democrats joining Republicans and 2 Republicans joining the rest of the Democrats in a 222 to 209 vote. So you're at that 431 mark. 2 did not vote. There are 2 vacant seats. There's Texas 18 and Tennessee 7 to be decided. The 7th Congressional District of Tennessee on December 2nd. The race from last week, too close to call, still in that jungle primary in that Houston district of number 18 in the Lone Star State. House Speaker Mike Johnson soon thereafter having a press gaggle showcasing his frustration, but also how we move forward through January of 2026.
Well, good evening, everybody. We feel very relieved tonight. The Democrat shutdown is finally over, thanks to House and Senate Republicans who stood together to get the job done. Absolutely no question in anybody's mind now that the Democrats were responsible for this. What happened? Millions of American families went without food on their table. You had millions of Americans stranded in airports with their flights canceled and delayed. You had troops and federal employees wondering where their next paycheck would come from. The Democrats openly admitted, many of them said it in their own words, that they used the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause that pain to the people, and they did it anyway. They did it for their own selfish purposes, their political purposes, and it was a game they played with real people's lives. It's something that is very difficult to forgive. I want to say that all this was utterly pointless and foolish. This outcome was totally foreseeable. I said that this would be the outcome when all this began back in mid-September. They did it anyway. Democrats admitted that they used the people as leverage, and they got nothing for their selfish political stunt here. They didn't achieve anything with this at all. And anyone who studied history would know that shutdowns never yield any positive result. It just hurts people. I said on the House floor a little while ago that we did all this in good faith. From the very beginning, I was insistent about this. Our leadership team was. The Republicans did the right thing. We had a nonpartisan continuing resolution. We didn't have any Republican priorities on it at all. We just said, in good faith, let's keep the lights on. Let's keep this going for another 7 weeks so that the Congress can do its work, so they can get back to the regular appropriations process, the way that it is supposed to be done for the people, so that we're good stewards with their money. That hasn't been done here in a long time. And we said we want to get back to that. Now, I'm pleased that tonight on the CR we had 3 appropriations bills that we'll send over to the President's desk in just a short amount of time tonight to get signed into law. That's an innovation, too. As you all know, it's been years since Congress actually did separate appropriations bills. I'm proud of that achievement, but I'm really sad that it took us so long to get here. It was so much pain that had to be endured to get to this point. Voters are going to remember which political party played games with their lives. They're going to remember that they did this for their own selfish purposes so that they could look tough to the radical elements of their base, and real people suffered because of that game. So now that we've got the lights back on, we've got the government reopened, the President will sign that triumphantly tonight, and Republicans will get right back to the work that we promised the American people that we will do. We're going to deliver for the American people, as we have been doing. And I'll leave you with this thought. There's a split screen in America right now. There's a split screen. On one side of the screen, you have President Trump and the Republican majorities in the Congress and the Senate and the House doing the work for the American people. Look what we've achieved in the first 10 months of this year. You can make an argument that it's the most productive season for a new Congress and a new presidency, a new administration, at least in the modern era, maybe of all time. Just in this short amount of months, we got the border secured. We fulfilled that promise. We are working on the crime crisis around the country. We have new trade agreements. We have a return to American energy dominance. We have cut taxes, the largest tax cut in U.S. history in a literal sense. We're cutting regulations. We're ending fraud, waste, and abuse out of government. We're shoring up the safety net programs like Medicaid so that it's there for the people that desperately need it, and it is not being abused by illegal aliens and by young able-bodied men who are not eligible to receive that. We are doing all this good work. The President, meanwhile, is using his authority to change the world, literally. He has ended 8 wars around the globe. All of this is happening on the Republican side and so much more. That's on one side of the screen, and on the other is the Democrat Party. And what have they done? What do they have to show for the last 10 months of government here? They shut the government down. They voted 15 times to close the government and exact that pain on everyone. We can never forget that. They haven't achieved anything beyond that except pushing ICE officers around and really spurring on political violence. So I want to say that there's a reason the Democrats are in disarray right now. There's a reason they don't have an identified leader of their party. There's a reason that their favorability, even amongst those in their own party, is at lowest of all time. They don't have a platform, a principle they can defend. They don't have a leader, except for Mondami, who's the new mayor of New York City and leading the party into Marxism and socialism. I think everybody should consider that split screen. I think you should look at it truthfully and honestly and objectively. And I think you can evaluate for yourself which party's working for the people. We're anxious to get that done, to work on health care and affordability and all the issues, to continue doing what we've done. And we look forward to rolling that out for you in the next several days. A few questions. Yes?
You said earlier that you would repeal that FBI provision that's in the bill right now. Do you have assurances from Leader Thune that he will bring it up in the Senate?
I did call Leader Thune this morning. I want to say that he's a principled leader. I've enjoyed working with him. We've got a great working relationship and a good friendship. He's a trustworthy, honest broker. And that's why I was so surprised when we found out about that provision. It was put in our clean CR at the last moment. I'm just be honest, I'm very transparent with you all. I was very angry about it. I was. And a lot of my members called me and said, did you know about it? We had no idea. That was dropped in at the last minute. And I did not appreciate that, nor did most of the House members. Many of them are very angry about that. So we will be bringing that up. We'll probably pass it on suspension early next week, and we'll send it over to the Senate. I had a conversation with Leader Thune early this morning about it. I think he regretted the way it was done, and we had an honest conversation about that. I didn't ask him for any commitment at that time because I had a lot on my plate today, and I've been busy ever since that conversation we had early this morning. But I'm going to speak as truthfully to him as I am to all of you and tell you that I think that was way out of line. I don't think that was a smart thing to do. I don't think it was the right thing to do, and the House is going to reverse it. We're going to repeal that, and I'm going to expect our colleagues in the Senate to do the same thing.
Mr. Speaker, you said you're for full transparency, so why not just urge all your Republicans to vote for this massive Connell bill on the Epstein files next week? Put out all the files. Let the American public judge for themselves what these files are all
Thank you
about.
for asking the question. We have been for maximum transparency of the Epstein files from the very beginning. What I was opposed to is the reckless disregard that was used in drafting the discharge petition. And we've been over this many times, but it was not drafted in such a way that it would adequately protect innocent victims. We have a responsibility to do that. There's as many as 1,000 women, by some estimates, of people who have been victimized because of the sex trafficking and Epstein and all these horrendous, heinous crimes, and we can't have them subjected to any further harm. So we wanted to make sure that whose names were properly redacted out of the files. But the discharge petition is not only reckless, it is also a totally moot point. The Oversight Committee has been working, as you all know, around the clock, working on this. And you have some of the toughest members of Congress on the Republican and Democrat side who are working in bipartisan fashion to go through and release those files. As we stand here tonight, I think we're up to over 50,000 pages of records that are out in the open. You can go online tonight if you're at home and go through it yourself. And the Epstein estate files thus far has been the biggest tranche of important information. We found that outside of the scope of the discharge petition because it was never even anticipated or included in the discharge. The Oversight Committee, well, let me finish. The Oversight Committee has been digging into that, and some of the most valuable information was in the estate files. It includes Jeffrey Epstein's own personal logs, his travel logs, his financial ledgers, his daily calendar. All this is now out in the public, and more is to come. Chairman Comer of the Oversight Committee has done an extraordinary job. You have, again, some of the most notable members in Congress working on that around the clock, and they will continue to have full disclosure. I want to say this tonight, and I think this is a shame to a lot of the Hill Press Corps. I'm not going to name any of you by name, but I haven't seen many stories written yet about the fact that we put the discharge up for unanimous consent on the floor tonight. The Republicans, the Speaker, and the Republicans asked for unanimous consent to just go ahead and pass the discharge because I think it's a moot point. The Democrats objected to the unanimous consent. Nobody's written a story about that. That's stunning to me. How can you miss that? If it was about transparency, if it was about full disclosure, there's two questions you should ask every Democrat in the House and Senate. Why didn't you bring this up during the 4 years of the Biden administration when the Biden DOJ had all these records the entire time? Nobody ever said a word about it. They didn't care. Now it's the biggest thing in the world. Didn't matter at all when Joe Biden had the files. And secondly, if they're for transparency and they really want all this to be out and there's such this urgency, then why did they vote down the unanimous consent to pass the discharge petition tonight? I can't answer that question, but they should. And every one of you should ask them about it. Yes.
Thank you. There are several members of your own conference that support at least a one-year extension of ACA subsidies. Others have alternative plans. Now that you're beyond this and as January 30th deadline looms, are you willing to put any one of those measures potentially on the floor?
I've been asked 100 times whether I'll commit to putting any ACA extension on the floor. What I have said from the very beginning, and we were consistent about this, and you all know from day one, the first order of business was to get the government open and working for the people again. It's the most basic responsibility, and we finally got that done tonight. And I said, as soon as the government was open, we would turn our attention to health care and all the other issues that are out there. We are willing to work and have always been willing to work in good faith with anybody in this building who wants to bring down the cost of health care. The Unaffordable Care Act, the ACA, did exactly the opposite of what they promised it. When the Democrats passed their health care law back in 2010, you all remember, the average American would have their premiums reduced by $2,500. They swore to you, and that was not true. And I think the people that drew it up knew it was not true in the very beginning. It was a lie. The people that were the architects of Obamacare, of the ACA, wanted single payer. They designed a system that they knew, they had to know, because they're really intelligent folks, was going to implode on itself. They knew that it was not sustainable. And what has happened since that time, and we're going to be going through this in great detail next week, get ready. We're going to take you through a timeline of who destroyed American health care. And I'll give you a hint. It didn't have anything to do with the Republican Party. It was the Democrats. They're the ones that gave you the Unaffordable Care Act. They're the ones that have been trying to subsidize it and prop it up and add to it ever since. We're the ones that have been trying to fix it. The Republican Party has. What has happened since the Democrats wrecked American health care is that your premiums have gone up by some cases 60%, in some cases more. And it's going to go up further. So their solution is right now they want to subsidize it further. They want to subsidize insurance companies. They want the COVID-era extension that was created by the Democrats themselves. They created the subsidy. They are the ones that put the expiration date of December 31 of 2025 on that. They knew it wasn't going to be permanent because it was a boondoggle. And now they're trying to claim it's Republicans' fault? The Democrats created it. The Democrats broke it. The Democrats are driving your cost up. Who are you going to trust to fix health care? It's the Republican Party. Because we have volumes of ideas on how to do this, on how to fix it, on how to drive costs down, and how to increase access to care and quality of care. And you're going to see all that vigorous debate. So the answer to your question is, am I going to guarantee a vote on ACA unreformed COVID-era subsidies that is just a boondoggle to insurance companies and robs the taxpayer? We got a lot of work to do on that. The Republicans would demand a lot of reforms before anything like that was ever possible, and we have to go through that deliberative process. We have currently 433 members of the House of Representatives. There's a lot of opinions in this building, and on our side, certainly a lot of opinions on how to fix health care and make it more affordable. I have to allow that process to play out. I'll leave you with this. The biggest objection that I had to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, who are playing political games with people's lives when they shut the government down, was Chuck Schumer came out and said the quiet part out loud. I don't even think he realized, he has no self-awareness. But he came and cried to all of you that I would not agree to go into a back room and make a four corners agreement on these issues. That just he and I and Hakeem Jeffries and Leader Thune would go in a room and make this decision for the entire population of America and block out all of our colleagues as if they had no voice in it. That is why Washington is broken. That's why Congress hasn't worked well for people. That's why they don't have a lot of faith in what goes on here. And I'm committed to trying to restore that faith. And one way we do that is we get back to regular order, and we allow all the duly elected members of this body to have their voices heard. I'm not playing games, and Chuck Schumer, I'm not going in a back room with you and making a four corners deal on anything. And I hope you understand that. Thank you all. We got the government open. Let's celebrate tonight. They did the right thing. We congratulate them.
This Veterans Day week, we honor the men and women who risked everything to protect our constitutional republic, and including freedom, their own choices to make for their family around the kitchen table, and ultimately for people to dialogue and debate, just as you saw there, House Speaker Johnson speaking on H.R. 5371, reopening the government after 43 days, and the President of the United States about to sign that at 9:45 Our great sponsor at All Family Pharmacy is doing just that with a special promo for all of our viewers. Right now, they're giving 25% off, and it ends this evening. Use code RSBN25, RSBN25, the Veterans Day 25% off site-wide, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. This is medication your family needs for stocking up in that medicine cabinet to those essential medications you might travel with, including emergency medical kits. In fact, 300 trusted prescriptions that can protect you and yours in cold and flu and COVID season. All by a licensed doctor, shipped right to your door. You need a pharmaceutical note, but if you do not have insurance for whatever reason, that is okay. It is a special order, a special online pharmacy that can supplement your line with Operation Wellness. This is part of their mission to take care of American lives. And this group, with every purchase, donating to children of fallen patriots. This helps fund education for the children of fallen heroes. So take care of your family and give back to those veterans and those who have left their loved ones behind to lay down their lives for freedom. The last full measure of devotion. And there is no greater love than to lay down a life for one's friend, as the American military has known for countless generations. So don't miss this special Veterans Day sale running through tonight. Veterans Day, use code RSBN25, 25% off site-wide over 300 medications essential to the health of you and yours at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also with mypillow.com/RSBN, the early Black Friday special, the master marketer, as President Trump puts it, in regards to our dear friend from Minnesota, Mike Lindell, with the Children's Bible Story Pillows, a 5-pack going for under $30 at $29.98. The Bible comes to life in these gorgeous pillows for the kids, and something for them to reflect upon as they lay their heads in this golden era of a revival that we're witnessing from the halls in our government to the steps of the pews in our churches. mypillow.com/RSBN, the promo code RSBN, easy to remember, 800-836-7566. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network. Shop now at mypillow.com/RSBN for over 2,000 products to have a better night, but also a better start to your morning with code RSBN. Please feel free to donate to our Citizen Network. We're focused on the new media to challenge a legacy media that more often than not is anti-American and presents opinion as fact, where we break it down for you, every speech, every press conference, all of these moments in real time so you can make up your mind on your 45th and 47th president, your 50th vice president, and the 119th Congress. Feel free to support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, rsbnetwork.com/donate, or text RSBN to 801-801. You can send a check or money order to 1550, that's 1550, Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, the loveliest village on the plains. It's Auburn, Alabama, 36830, 1550, Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thank you for joining us on the right side of history, as it's a gorgeous evening in Washington, D.C. Moments from now, President Trump to reopen the government, expected to sign H.R. 5371, passing with a vote of 222 to 209 in the House of Representatives. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries claimed that he had whipped all Democrat votes to be no, but 6 Democrats defecting and joining Republicans, and 2 Republicans voting along with Democrats. So a bipartisan effort to reopen the government after the longest shutdown, 43 days into week 7, the longest in U.S. history. A House GOP leadership statement on ending the Democrat shutdown. The Democrat shutdown is finally over thanks to House and Senate Republicans. There is absolutely no question now that Democrats are responsible for millions of American families going hungry, millions of travelers left stranded at airports, and our troops left wondering if they would receive a paycheck. It was the Democrat Party that voted 15 times to keep the government closed and force the largest shutdown in United States history. All of it was pointless and utterly foolish. The Democrats admitted they used the American people as leverage and hurt their constituents on purpose, but they got nothing for their selfish political stunt. Voters will remember which party played political games in an attempt to look tough to their base, while real people actually suffered in the process. Now that Republicans have succeeded in ending the Democrat shutdown, we look forward to continuing our important legislative work, delivering results for the American people. Signed by Speaker Mike Johnson, Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and Chairwoman Lisa McClain. They did an extraordinary job, and my kudos to House Republican leadership for navigating these very difficult waters, for having a backbone and not backing down. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, he's been very used to this ever since 1981 of Republicans caving. This is a new Republican Party. This is a MAGA, America First movement that will not pay for illegal alien health care, that has secured our borders, some claiming that nothing has been done in 9 months, but this president ending 8 wars and with 9 at the cusp between the conflict of Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine. All of this during the 43-day government shutdown with historic deals in Malaysia, with a trade deal there, peace between Cambodia and Thailand, the kingdoms coming together with their prime ministers. And then it was a trip over to the Empire of Japan to meet with the new prime minister in the same ilk of Shinzo Abe, working for peace through strength, and almost a movement like ours of Make Japan Great Again. And they're doing just that with a military partnership that knows really no separation post World War II. And they are very happy with that, being that the Indo-Pacific and Indochina can be a dangerous area nowadays. On to South Korea, with a government that does not necessarily see eye to eye with that of the American president, but regardless, coming together on business discussions, and some great car dealers and manufacturers already here in the likes of Hyundai and also Toyota, Japanese and Korean outlets that are now building most of their products right near us here in Alabama, Louisiana, and the great state of Georgia. So that President Trump really should write a book. Perhaps it will be called The Art of Diplomacy as the next follow-up, because that trip in and of itself during a shutdown saw the peacemaker-in-chief to the military commander-in-chief, and then ultimately that business dealer-in-chief, culminating in a 2-hour meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Chinese counterparts in South Korea. Then coming back home, and he had enough time to get off of that roughly 14-hour flight on Air Force One to pass out candy to the kids on Halloween. We have not seen an administration, especially in the modern era, that is so willing to work overtime for the American people. So to those who really are right, left, and center, whoever might be out there criticizing the executive office of the President of the United States and claiming nothing has been done, well, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, because you have your head in the sand, as we are about to see this president reopen the government minutes from now. A huge success, as he taught this modern Republican Party how to fight, and win, and to grow a backbone under the best speakership that we have seen in countless years. Mike Johnson will go down, I believe, in history as perhaps one of the greatest deal makers, but also power brokers in Washington, D.C. He did not want the job. I mean, that's the irony of all this, as we've seen countless Republican speakers really come to an end of their legislative careers and then mostly go into consulting or doing this fun stuff that I have the privilege of doing, speaking from behind a microphone or giving their opinion on countless different items. But many of them lost their speakerships because they could not handle the job. They could not do the due diligence of getting the Republican agenda fully over the finish line. Speaker Mike Johnson is doing that on a daily basis with a House Republican team that is united. And it's a surprise to the Democrats, because the way they act on Capitol Hill, it's you must be in lockstep. So for the 6 who voted against the Democrats and put principle over party, and I'm sure fearing retribution in their own districts, of course, peacefully and patriotically at the ballot box come 2026, they decided to put their country first, and kudos to them for doing so. Because this speaker did not want to back down to the threats of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who was afraid of being primaried by AOC. He put his political future, or the lack thereof, before the American people and decided to play games. Many of these other shutdowns you can blame on other administrations, both Republican and Democrat, to those who are running Congress back during the Boehner days against Barack Hussein Obama, who claimed to have the phone and the pen. We heard that countless times. But then the two of them like to have, a couple of cigarettes together and maybe a whiskey neat in the speaker's office, undisclosed at times, discussing different legislation. But we saw how weak John Boehner was and would cave to Democrats on countless different items. So I think Mr. Schumer was quite afraid of that, and again, is afraid of that primary come 2028. We will see what happens, as the progressive wing is quite upset, as you could hear the moans and the yells and the screams of certain progressive members on the House side of Capitol Hill. So this is a great success of House Speaker Mike Johnson and the House Republican leadership team. For those right, left, and center who say otherwise, they really just do not know what they're talking about. And our kudos to Speaker Mike Johnson on what is a very successful evening to reopen the government, to get those people the much-needed relief that they deserve, whether it's these welfare benefits to SNAP benefits. You also have to ask the question, are too many people on these government welfare and programs? We can have that debate for another day, as you do not want to see Americans suffer, especially those who work for the federal government, the TSA agents, to the military, those who showed up for work without receiving those paychecks in many situations because of the affordability of the United States in countless different arenas. Some of the people not going with pay for some time now. So it's good to see that they'll get that back pay. And then President Trump also pledging a $10,000 bonus for those TSA agents that did go to work, that did not necessarily call out sick in that moment. So we're excited to see that. And we'll take you to the Oval Office, to the White House, for that signing, which should be roughly moments from now. Now, it's also important to note that the White House releasing some important data on general affordability. We have seen that with costs coming down, with new data being released, that lower prices are happening in America and bigger paychecks. President Trump's bold economic agenda is delivering real relief and economic results for American families, with new data from DoorDash's State of Local Commerce report. It's confirming that inflation has been tamed. Everyday prices are beginning to drop and wages continue to grow. From breakfast tables to store shelves, President Trump's agenda is lowering costs when families need it the most. This is fueling an economic drive and a comeback that is only just beginning under President Trump's administration. And Secretary Bessent has been doing the rounds in countless media, legacy to new media, to everywhere in between, talking about how important it is to bring down these costs, and that tariffs being the key to that, bringing billions back to the United States of America. It's a realigning of global trade. It's conquering globalization as we know it and destroying what was known as the neocon and neoliberal agendas of both Republican and Democrat administrations over the course of the last 25 plus years. Remember the auto pen back when he was a senator from Delaware, decided to cheers to champagne with then President Bill Clinton in 1999 at the White House, and Vice Premier Xi Jinping, now the president and leader of the Communist Party of China, bringing China into the World Trade Organization, saying this is going to be good for everyone. Well, that proved to be wrong, and many leaders putting Beijing first, bankrolling them while they decided to bankrupt Detroit. But this MAGA America First movement will not back down, and now has wins at the back of its sails. Now it's incumbent upon Republicans, and I'm giving my own 2 cents and free advice here, having some knowledge in the political sphere, local, state, and with federal politics as well. Run on affordability, run on bringing down the cost of healthcare, run on Main Street issues. This is something this administration is focused on. Even at an international level, realigning all of these trade deals and globalization as we know it to bring costs down for the American consumer. And as President Trump puts it, the peace through strength doctrine, the Trump doctrine, the MAGA agenda, as the late, great Charlie Kirk talked about, the fact that peace works a bit better than war does, and that you actually trade and dialogue with people. And we've seen this president do that in countless ways with 30 plus leaders, many repeat leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel and Mr. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, visiting the White House on countless occasions. And many of these leaders asking the Nobel Committee to award President Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. Even the Venezuelan opposition leaders dedicating their Nobel awards to that of President Trump and this administration, and the great work of people like Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as we pray for our veterans and our active military who currently are in Latino waters around Venezuela because of all that drug trafficking. 19 drug cartel ships being shot down by American military over the course of these last few weeks in order to stop the narco trafficking of deadly fentanyl, as we've secured our borders, but our ports still vulnerable as the U.S. Coast Guard continues to monitor all of this, with U.S. military now in Panama doing training, something we haven't seen since the Soviet days. To keep you abreast of that, the USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest warship in the world, moving from the Middle East on the orders of the commander-in-chief towards Venezuela. So we'll watch that as we pray for peace throughout the world, and it has to be done through strength, as this president really, in a way, mirroring the presidency of Ronald Wilson Reagan, but amping it up, including domestic policy changes like ending the Department of Education. As we get close to that 10 o'clock hour, very soon President Trump will reopen the government with the signing of H.R. 5371, having passed roughly 90 minutes ago on the House floor by a vote of 222 to 209. Let's go through the grocery prices on breakfast items, dropping 14% over the course of the last 6 months. President Trump has tamed inflation, and the Breakfast Basics Index, showcasing the measures of giving you an example of what a breakfast would look like in America. 3 eggs, a glass of milk, bagel, and avocado, decreasing by 14% between March and September of this year, 1.7% over the past year in entirety. Now, the Everyday Essentials Index, which measures the price of toothpaste, shampoo, toilet paper, laundry detergent, pain medicine, and diapers, also fell over the past year. Now, Americans are beginning to see price declines over the past year. Prices actually declined for cheese, cereals, bars, and fresh fruits, frozen meals, packaged goods, and also condiments, batteries, computers, accessories, phone items, something you might find whether you have the iPhone or something else, vitamin supplements, outdoor products, and toys and games. With the holidays right around the corner, I believe on day 43 of this government shutdown coming to an end, it's exactly 43 days until the miracle that is Christmas. And so some prices coming down for those you are looking to purchase for during the holiday season. President Trump's policies are fueling wage growth. Nationally, the wage growth is outpacing restaurant price increases, including at the city level in half of the cities that have been studied from big to small. Local economies are resilient. 56% of consumers say they've seen fewer businesses close in their communities over the past year, and overall food spending has increased by nearly 5% over last year, so faster than prices have risen themselves, suggesting that consumers are buying more from businesses in their community. So all good things happening, as I know it is difficult for some people out there, especially some Gen Zers, some recent grads, really experiencing some of a downturn in hiring right now, pending what is your specific and respective career, but hang in there as we are seeing a Q1 and Q2 of 2026 that can really be spectacular for the American people. It's close to 10 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock on that golden coast of California. I'm sorry that you were abandoned by your governor recently for that global climate crisis conference of whatever they like to call it, just a bunch of globalists getting together to try to find ways to control you down in Brazil. We won't let that happen on the right side of history. Stick with us as President Trump will reopen the government moments from now. We'll take a quick commercial break for sponsors. I'm Robert McNeely. It's always a joy to be with you on RSBN Primetime.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. President Trump to reopen the government with the signing of H.R. 5371. In case you missed it, roughly 90 minutes ago, the House of Representatives passing that finalized Senate version on day 43 of the Chuck Schumer shutdown. It is over, and Republicans in Congress have an extremely large backbone, something that the Palestinian senator from New York, was not used to since he's been in Congress since 1981, but they really don't have a message to run on. They wanted to fund illegal aliens. They wanted to defund the $50 billion offered in the One Big Beautiful Bill to rural hospitals, and the Democrat Party, Demos, Greek for of the people, have really become an amoeba that is watching out for its own. And House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries thought he had whipped the votes, but 6 Democrats, realizing that it's good to put principle over party, and helped Republicans reopen the government. 2 joining from the Republican ranks, the Democrats, to keep it shut down. A total of 222 to 209. It's going to the president's desk. We'll take you there live to the White House moments from now as we celebrate Veterans Day week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can't say it enough. To the countless veterans and the military salute to service that we saw from the NFL over the weekend with President Trump visiting the Commanders and Lions game. We definitely honor the men and women who have sacrificed so much, as we saw the president, the vice president, and Secretary Collins at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier yesterday at Arlington. All Family Pharmacy, a great sponsor that is exposing what is in the big pharmaceutical markets and how much it costs to try to get these life-saving meds. It's ridiculous what's happening, and they just want to bring relief to those who have served. So this Veterans Day 25% off sale happening now. It ends tonight. Let's celebrate the reopening of the government with code RSBN25. It's RSBN25, 25% off Veterans Day sale ending tonight at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and site-wide. And these are medications your family needs. They offer more than 300 life-saving meds for your medicine cabinet, which you could take on the road as well, and a supplemental line which you can support through Operation Wellness. Part of every purchase is donated to the Children of Fallen Patriots, helping fund education to the children of fallen heroes. Those Gold Star families mean so much to us. And for those who have lost their lives in the line of duty, who have given that last full measure of devotion, we owe it to them as Americans to watch over those they have left behind. There is no greater love than to lay one's down for their friends. And these people know better than anyone else donning that American military uniform. It's Veterans Day, 25% off sale extended to tonight, through tonight at midnight Eastern. Code RSBN 25, RSBN 25. Scan that QR code now for 25% off site-wide, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Now, every major financial problem in America begins with a few simple facts that cannot be ignored. Go back to 2007. It was overextended credit, reckless lending, and a mortgage crisis that led to the bailouts of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. All thanks to then President George W. Bush, while then Senator John McCain and Senator Barack Hussein Obama looked on kind of wild-eyed as to what to do. What did the lobbyists say? What did the big donors say? In turn, both Republican and Democrat parties screwed you back in 2007 and 2008 and gave way to the MAGA movement that is today. Now, banks failed, savings vanished, and you don't want that to happen again. Retirement's cut in half. The lesson was from 2007 and 2008, simply painful and unforgettable. That's why Monetary Gold is focused on protecting you and yours with wealth, security, and preservation with this complimentary presidential gold guide, so you can decide how to eliminate the annual IRA fees and buy into the bull markets of gold and silver today. RSBNforthegold.com. Today, those same indicators are returning. You have the auto loan defaults are rising. Commercial real estate is strained. Private credit has grown far beyond its limits. And now even Jamie Dimon, he's at the White House tonight for that dinner with Wall Street executives. And now this man understands money a little bit better than most. It's a warning system. When you see one problem in the system, there's something hidden behind it. These are not theories. They are patterns, and patterns repeat when people refuse to act. For more than 25 years, Monetary Gold has been a leader in these commodities that have stood the test of time. Over 5,000 years of human history in gold and silver, always doing better when the paper currency is weak. We see that right now. And through these economic storms, this company with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau has one constant truth: real value endures when paper confidence fades. So do not delay. Call today, 888-617-7994. It's RSBNforthegold.com, RSBNforthegold.com. Monetary Gold, wealth, security, preservation, all there for you. And ask how you can eliminate those IRA fees permanently for life. We are your go-to live desk here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's an honor to be with you at this 10:07 RSBN prime time as President Trump is set to reopen the government with the signing of H.R. 5371, passing by a vote of 222 to 209 earlier tonight. And it's about time after the longest government shutdown in United States history at day 43. And looking back at past shutdowns, you can blame both parties at times, but this was very clear. The House leadership passed a clean continuing resolution to keep the government open for 7 weeks. Now we've been in 7 weeks of shutdown, and this clean CR will fund the government through January of 2026. All it ended up doing was hurting those federal employees, those TSA agents, to members of our military and those who are on the SNAP benefits, who are in need of these so they can go not being hungry, having food. Imagine a situation, and perhaps some of you have, where you have to decide between life-saving medication and putting dinner on the table for your family. It's uncomfortable. It's not pleasant. And Democrats decided to use it as leverage. To quote Catherine Clark, the whip of the minority team, who failed miserably tonight to attempt a whip, as Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said that his whip, Catherine Clark, had all Democrats in line to continue the shutdown, the magic number being that of 217, going well over at 222. As you now have a majority of Republicans in the House, although razor thin, as House Speaker Mike Johnson and Republican leadership has been able to navigate this in virtually impossible Washington, D.C. waters that seem to overflow from the Potomac nearby. With a majority of 219 to 214, with 2 vacant seats left, with a majority that will remain intact at least through the second half of the 119th Congress, the second session to begin in January. Now, the 2 vacant seats, Texas 18 of the late Sylvester Turner, who was the Houston mayor and a congressman, passing at the age of 70, may God rest his soul, a large Democrat district of, I believe, plus 21, looking at the Cook PVI of what direction, if you're unfamiliar, a district should go. Talk about gerrymandering. It would make Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois blush with his ridiculous maps that he claimed a kindergartner drew when he visited our friend Stephen Colbert, who will be canceled come of May 2026 on The Late Show, which was rather ridiculous given the fact that J.B. Pritzker, who ran on fair maps, decided to sign that map into law, and even the new conceived maps that they might sign illegally into law in the near future, even more ridiculous, in order to get rid of the few remaining Illinois congressmen and women, including the great Mary Miller of District 15. We are big fans of hers. As one of the rising stars in the Republican Party, Congressman Gill of Texas, the Lone Star State, had a few comments regarding this reopening of the government, and we can go to that now if that's ready, Mr. Producer.
Hi, this is Congressman Brandon Gill. I just got off the House floor voting to finally reopen the federal government, end the Democrats' shutdown, get our troops paid, get our TSA agents paid, get Capitol Police paid, make sure our government is up and running and working for the American people. We've got a ton of work to do. The Democrats set us back, but we are going to make sure we make up for all of that time. Now, let's get back to work.
Time to get back to work, as many Americans have suffered as a result, or were at least inconvenienced, especially in travel, given this Chuck Schumer shutdown. In case you missed it, it was quite exciting to be on the House floor and see this vote getting close to 2 hours ago.
On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Now, the other vacancy that I was about to mention is Tennessee 7. That election will take place on December 2nd. So upcoming here, and some other runoffs as well, including in Georgia, in my neck of the woods, just north of Atlanta and Sandy Springs, the runoff of that mayoral election as well. So make sure that during the busy holiday season, you vote early. Let's go to the President of the United States at the White House.
Well, thank you very much. This is a big day of the night. Very important what is taking place, because you see how good government can be and how bad government can be. People don't know what they're doing. For the past 43 days, Democrats in Congress shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers for hundreds of billions of dollars for illegal aliens and people that came into our country illegally, from gangs, from prisons, from mental institutions. They wanted to pay them $1.5 trillion, which would have really hurt our healthcare businesses and our recipients at levels never seen before. Today, we're sending a clear message that we will never give in to extortion, because that's what it was. They tried to extort. The Democrats tried to extort our country. In just a moment, I'll sign a bill exactly like we asked Democrats to send us all along, many days ago. This cost the country $1.5 trillion, this little excursion that they took us on. Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. There's never been a time when one or the other party ever didn't sign a continuation. It's just a continuation, not a big deal. It's a continuation, and we'll talk later. Yet the extremists in the other party insisted on creating the longest government shutdown in American history, and they did it purely for political reasons. I want to thank Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, as well as House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and numerous other great Republican leaders and congressmen and senators who are here, who frankly spent a long time in Washington getting this thing to go away. I also want to thank the broad coalition of Americans that stood with us in this fight to reopen government, including the Teamsters, the American Federation of Government Employees, the Fraternal Order of Police, AMVETS, the National Small Business Association, the American Farm Bureau, the American Trucking Association. These are all incredible patriots. The Airlines for America, the Allied Pilots Association, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, and many others, unions and non-unions. Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid, and the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again. If we had the filibuster terminated, this would never happen again. And don't forget, we have another date coming up in the not-too-distant future. We can never let this happen again. And we should be able to pass great, really great legislation. So I say terminate the filibuster because, by the way, the Democrats will do it immediately if they ever assumed office, which hopefully they won't. Today we had the highest stock market price ever in all of the different markets. We set a record. It's the 48th time in the 9 months that I've been in office that we had this record set. So think of that, 48 times we had a record set, but today is the highest of them all. We're going to break new grounds. Nobody would have thought. I have with us not only the great political leaders, but the great business leaders of our country. They're standing right behind me and right really alongside of me. And if we would have told them a year ago that we'd be having stock prices this high, none of them, in fact, I just asked them that question, none of them would have believed it. And that inures to jobs and, very importantly, to 401ks, which have also set a record today, a record high for the people that have 401ks. And also, I want to thank Walmart because they came up with a fantastic study. It was the cost of Thanksgiving coming up and the cost of Thanksgiving from a year ago under Sleepy Joe Biden, and we're 25% lower this year than we were a year ago. And it's a very inclusive report, so I want to thank Walmart. They've done it for many years, but
We believe in that. We believe in that company. I want to also thank the 8 Senate Democrats who finally did the right thing in voting to end this craziness, this madness. But unfortunately, the vast majority of congressional Democrats were happy for millions of Americans to suffer. They really did suffer, too. And the Democrats admitted. They said, well, no, we finally have a point. Even though people have to suffer, we finally have a point. And that didn't work out too well for them. But they really went out and they could appease the fringe benefits of their far-left base. But that didn't work out because now their far-left base is angrier than ever before. We actually elected a mayor of New York City who happens to be a communist. When was that going to happen? Remember, I said all the time during my campaign, we will never be a socialist country. And that's right. We turned out to have a communist in New York City. And if you look at his views, those are the views of a communist, not a socialist. So this is no way to run a country. I hope we can all agree that the government should never be shut down again. Again, end the filibuster, terminate the filibuster. It'll never happen again. So with my signature, the federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans. Again, costs are way down. Energy is way down. Gasoline is at $2.50 a gallon versus $4.70 for the Democrats. And we think we're going to hit pretty close to $2 a gallon. That's like a really massive tax cut. It's the equivalent of that. And speaking of tax cuts, our great, big, beautiful bill is giving everybody in our economy, middle-income workers, low-income, everybody, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And it's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and very importantly, no tax on overtime. You work overtime, there's no tax. That's among the things that add up to the biggest tax cut in history. And one other thing, you hear about rich people with deductions. Well, when you buy your car and you borrow money, you're allowed to now deduct the interest on that loan. So you can take that interest deduction and what you can take is that interest payment and deduct it for income tax purposes. That's a tremendous tax cut right there. But it all includes fixing the health care system that Democrats broke with the disaster known as Obamacare. Obamacare was a disaster from day one. It's done nothing but go up. And if you remember President Barack Hussein Obama, when he came up with this crazy idea, he said everything's going to be great. Rates are going to go down. Payments are going to go down. Everything's going to go down. It went the exact opposite, with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own health care, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support. So we want the money that would be going to the insurance company, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. Their stock prices have gone up by 1,000% in many cases, 1,000% over a short period of time, because our country stupidly pays them so much money with this Obamacare scandal. So I want the money to go directly to you, the people. And you'll go out and you'll buy your own health insurance and you'll negotiate different plans and you'll get much better insurance and you will be an entrepreneur for yourself. So I'm always willing to work with anyone, including the other party. We'll work on something having to do with health care. We can do a lot better. We can do great. So much money is involved, and we're willing to pay so much money to the people. So we're going to pay a lot of money to the people. They're going to go out and buy their own health care, and we're going to forget this Obamacare madness. So with all of that, I just want to tell you the country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you very much. thank you very much. I don't know if you have questions. I think we really have a really great situation. We have a country that we love, and we have a country that's in great shape. As you know, we have over $18 trillion invested in our country by other people and countries. That's a record. There's never been a country that had so much, and that money's going into also building new auto plants, new AI plants, new everything. We've never had a time like this. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
What a great day.
It's a great day.
Well done, Mr. President. Thanks for guiding us through.
The greatest threat to the constitutional republic known as the United States is the Democrat Party. As President Trump said tonight, there was no need for this to have gone 43 days, but it lands into the leadership lapse or lack thereof of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Remember this come November of 2026. They are a party without a message. They are a party truly without leadership outside of their new way of progressive, big government socialists and communists, including the mayor-elect of the Big Apple, Mr. Zoran Mamdani. As President Trump reopens the government, we are all smiles to see that those who went without paychecks are ready to receive those once again. And thank you for being strong in these 43 days, as it is, I believe, exactly 43 days until the Christmas holiday. So to give some relief to those who are on either federal employees or on these federal benefits. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight at Right Side Broadcasting Network for these primetime events from the White House dinner with Wall Street executives that went to closed press. We will learn more about that from the wrap up there and within the coming hours to this very historic moment of H.R. 5371 passing by a vote of 222 to 209 in the House and being signed by President Trump, flanked by House Speaker Mike Johnson, Chairwoman Lisa McClain, and House Republican leadership tonight on this Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. Let not your heart be troubled. We'll be back with you tomorrow at noon o'clock for continued coverage of the federal city, inside and outside of the Beltway, and tomorrow's Thursday night, which means the voice of reason. So stay tuned for even more primetime RSBN as we and you are on the correct side of history, the right side of history. For all of my colleagues here at RSBN, I'm Robert McNeely. Have a wonderful night. God bless you and yours, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front-row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.